Please be seated. Thanks, everyone. I think everybody here already knows Geshe-la, but some of you may not. Geshe Sherab is the teacher at Chupton Norbu resident teacher in New Mexico, and has been visiting us, I think, since 2015 or so, but hasn't been here for 5 years. So we're really excited to have some teachings on the three principal aspects of the path from him. And we hope you can join us throughout the weekend, and I'll turn it over to Geshe. So thank you so much for coming, Geshe.
Thank you. Do you have a clock or something? Or maybe I can check it.
Yeah.
I think I can check it. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, joining, and again, that I have met and know you some of you from past, and I see some faces that I have not met before. And again, it's nice, wonderful to be back again. So, and I like to start with a short mindful breathing exercise to quiet our mind and to bring our mind in moment present. And once our mind is quiet, calm, then we try to generate good intention, motivation for being here. And before then we will start the class. Okay, the talk. So try to make yourself comfortable, relax. And try to let go of all thoughts of past, future. And keep your awareness to the breath. As you inhale, exhale naturally. Then we can reflect, contemplate. As long as our mind is not subdued, disciplined, no matter what the condition, external conditions are, we will always find reason to be unhappy. To complain. To be upset, agitated. Therefore, without subduing our mind, training and disciplining our mind, just by changing the external condition, we can never find true, lasting inner peace and joy. True inner peace and joy does not come from outside, but it has to come from within, from inside. Therefore, in order to find sense of true satisfactions, inner peace and joy, happiness, is important, necessary to discipline our mind, to train our mind, to subdue our mind. To do that, we need to contemplate, meditate, and practice. Correctly, continuously. And for that, we have to be reminded of those practices all the time. Therefore, I'm going to listen and engage in discussions. Not only listen, but if there is anything that I find helpful, that I'm going to integrate, apply, implement as much as possible in my everyday life. May the act of coming here to listen and to reflect, contemplate, may all of this become cause and conditions to transform our mind, our heart, to actualize all the spiritual realizational experiences. And ultimately to achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help and benefit to all sentient beings. May I always be helpful, beneficial, supportive to all sentient beings, directly, indirectly. Especially to those with whom we come in contact. And even when we're unable to help them, may we never hurt and harm them intentionally, knowing. Okay. We do the refuge and Bodhicitta motivations. Where Sangye Chadam Soge Chonam Chanju Batu Dane Kyam Sochi Dagi Jin Sogi Pe Sonam Gi Loma Penche Sangye Rupa Sho Sangye Chadam Soge Chonam Chanju Batu Dane Kyam Sochi Dagi Jin Sogi Pe Sonam Gi Lola Penche Sangye Jupa Sho Sangye Chonam Soge Chonam La Janju Baidu Gani Kapsu Chi Dagi Jin Shogi Pe Sonam Ki Lola Penche Sangye Jupa Sho. So the topic for this weekend is the three principal aspects of the path to enlightenment. And I don't think it's a very short text for the for those who are interested. I think you can read, and I'm not actually going to read the text itself. That I'm going to actually present those three subjects. Again, for those who are interested, you can download or we could send.
We will send. Yeah.
And you can read it. And how many of you have been doing this, the Lamrim that you just finished?
Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then Ruth and Roy are on there,
Okay.
and Ed's here too.
Okay, so I think for how many weeks?
12.
Okay. So that Lamrim means the stages of the path to enlightenment. And Lamrim was written by one of the one of the greatest Tibetan scholar, master, teacher, practitioners, Lam Tsongkhapa, who founded the tradition that we follow around 14th centuries. And he wrote that commentaries to the root text by one of the earliest Indian masters, Atisha Divamkara, around 10th centuries, that he wrote a very short, it's called The Lamb of the Path to Enlightenment. And so as a commentary to that, Lam Tsongkhapa wrote, and he wrote 3 versions of Lamrim, very extensive, the great Lamrim, the middle, and very short Lamrim. And the presentation of that, and then after that, so many other later master wrote many other commentaries, the 3rd Dalai Lama wrote one commentary, the 5th Dalai Lama wrote one commentary. Panchen Losang Chökyen, one of the Panchen Lama, wrote commentary. Panchen Losang Yeshe, another Panchen Lama, wrote commentaries. So different masters have wrote many other commentaries. So there are many. Pabongwa Rinpoche wrote one. So there are many. Those are kind of more common, well-known commentaries. And all this Lamrim, the way it is presented is presented a way to achieve enlightenment through the practice of what we call 3 scope or 3 capacity. The practice of small or initial capacity of scope, the practice of middle scope, the practice of great scope or capacity. And that is how, in terms of presenting. Same Lama Tsongkhapa presented 3 principal aspects of path is again, it is a stages of path to enlightenment, that the way it is presented is slightly different. Instead of presenting as practice of 3 scope, he presents as the stages of 3 principal aspects of the path. And so basically, it's presenting to the same destination, but slightly different way, different road that lead to that. In a way, the presentation is slightly different. But it contains the whole things in that, whole Lamrim teaching path contains within the 3 principal aspects of path. So 3 principal aspects of path, what are they? Renunciation is 1. And then awakened mind, for bodhicitta, is 2nd. And then the right view, the wisdom relies on the right view, is the 3rd. So these are what's known as 3 principal aspects of the path to enlightenment. Okay. So the practice of, if we took from the Lamrim, the practice of small scope, middle scope, is contains within the first principal path, renunciations. It is contains within that. And then the practice of greater scope is then contains within the principal aspect of the awakening mind of bodhicitta and the wisdom. And so in that way, the Lamrim, whole Lamrim teachings is contains within that. It's just a different presentations. And it is mentioned that this way presentations is given by Manjushri. The Lamrim was presentation that followed the Lamb of the Path by Adisha. It's a commentary to that. But the presentation of three principal aspects of path is according to Manjushri's instructions and advice. It is an Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, sometime in the form of Bodhisattva Manjushri, sometime in the form of the Buddha of wisdom, but whatever presentation is, so Manjushri. In generally, it is known Lama Tsongkhapa himself is a manifestations of Lama Tsongkhapa Manjushri. Also, even in the ordinary aspect, it is said, Lama Tsongkhapa has direct connection with Manjushri Dedi, like as person to persons. Sometimes certain practitioners, when they have certain spiritual realizations, sometimes they interact with those Buddhas or Dedi in the form of dream, within the dream, if they have some questions, if they have some doubt, then through caution, in the dream, they get the answers, through the dreams. They have that ability to that. And then certain practitioners, even more higher practitioners, not only they can not dream, but they have visions, in meditation, they have the visions and they can interact the visions. And then some, they are able to interact like person to persons, not just a vision as though it is person. And it is mentioned Lama Tsongkhapa that he was able to have direct connection and direct teachings as like person to person. At the very beginning, he relied on Manjushri through one of his teachers who had the visions. In later part, so anyway, so that is just to give a little bit of background of the author of this text. And it's interesting because there is another great Sakya masters, Jejun Tapa Gelsen. And he is also known as the manifestations of Manjushri. And also he has a teaching called parting away from four attachments. And that presentation very similar like the three principal aspects of path. In that it says, if you're attached to this life, then one cannot be true spiritual practitioner.
Enunciation.
That is, and then if you are attached to samsara, then you do not have renunciations. So that first one is, if you're attached to this life, then you are not true spiritual practitioner, Dharma practitioner. Second, if you are attached, even you are not attached to this life, but if you are attached to samsara, then you do not have renunciations. If you are attached to self-interest, you do not have bodhicitta, awakening. If you are attached to self-grasping, then you don't have the right view, the wisdom relies on the right view. So the way he presents is very similar to three principal aspects of path. And it's interesting, both of them actually are known to be manifestation Manjushri, and the way they present is very similar, So anyway, just to give a little of that. So what is renunciations? And in the Lama Tsongkhapa, his presentations in three principal axes of path, he presents those three paths: renunciation, the awakened mind, and the view, the right view, wisdom realizing right view, from three kind of outlines. Why we need to develop? Why do we need renunciation? Why we need a awakened mind about it? Why do we need to have the wisdom realizing right view? And then how to cultivate the renunciation? How to cultivate the awakened mind? How to cultivate the wisdom realizing the right view? And then how do we know that we have generated renunciation? What is the measurement? How can you measure? How do we know that you have pure renunciation? How do you know you have bodhicitta mind, awakened mind? How do you know that you have the wisdom realizing the right view? So in like each of them, three main outlines. And I think so I think that is how we are going to kind of talk, okay, that through that. And first, what is a renunciation? What do you think? What is a renunciation? What does that mean? When you say renunciation, what comes in your mind? Anyone?
Give up attachment to?
Okay. Yeah. Anything? Normally, when a lot of people, when things renounce, it means giving up all the material things, you know, isn't it? Someone's really renounce, meaning they don't have, they give up, you know, the wealth, material things, everything, you know. But here, when we talk about renunciations, as I also mentioned earlier from the Legend Tapa Gelsen as well, it's not about giving something external, it's about giving something internal. Okay. It's giving the attachment. Giving up attachment. That is what it is. Renouncing attachment. Giving up attachment. You know. Turning away your mind from being attached. I think that is very important to understand that. Okay. Otherwise, you misunderstand. There's a story of a practitioner or someone who read the biography of Milarepa. Milarepa was one of the great Tibetan yogi masters. You know, later part, you know, he gave up everything. You know, his mind was turned to Dharma, and then he gave our families wealth, everything. He went into the mountains, and then without anything, he just had a bowl to eat. Even the food he eat, the needles, whatever he find in the mountains. And he didn't have one specific place, he just keep on moving. from place to place and meditating and that wanderer, and so someone read his biography, and he was very inspired for momentarily, and he felt like I want to follow his steps, he felt that is what he wanted to give up everything, and he gave up everything, and he tried to follow him. He went into the mountains and wandered and that. But his interest or enthusiasm was not so strong, determination was not strong. After some practice over a few years, he didn't see much changes, It requires a lot of practice, a lot of effort, time. It doesn't come like that. But he was expecting something to have a change, transformation quickly, and within such short period, he didn't see that, and he got discouraged and disappointed and all of that. And then he started a negative feeling and thought. And then he regretted for having given everything. Now he has nothing to go back. And he said, not only Milarepa was a beggar, he made me beggar. So that was he blamed Milarepa for what he, and that is because, again, that is what I'm saying, when you misunderstand, So that is what in the end, he had these negative thoughts and feelings, and he felt and he said, not only Milarepa was a beggar, because he was begging the food and eating like that without any, he made me beggar, that's so. That is when we don't understand the Dharma fully and misunderstand. And then, so renunciations, that was what I'm saying, means giving up attachments, Also, maybe I want to clarify a little bit because of the word attachments. Because I think the way we use in Buddhism, and maybe sometimes the way people use in normal, maybe it might have, I think it seems in normal, sometimes people you need the attachment for the growth of a child, In Buddhism, we differentiate. We need the affections, love. The child needs the love, true love, the affections, the care of the parent, the mother, for the child's growth, and those are positive that we need, not only for the child, for everyone, to be able to develop affections, to love, care. But when you talk about attachment in Buddhist term, we are talking about a negative state of mind. We are talking about a mind that has some kind of craving, And in such attachments, the attachment always produced by ignorance, whereas true affections and love is not produced by the ignorance. It is rooted in a, right view, reasoning, understanding. Whereas attachments always rooted in ignorance. From where it comes is the ignorance. Secondly, attachment, when we talk about this particular effect of emotion, attachment in Buddhism, we talk about particular state of mind. It also is mistaken because it's exaggerate more positive quality into the object than there is. That is what attachment does. The attachments exaggerate more positive quality into the objects of the attachment than there is. So also therefore is again mistaken mind. Also attachments lead to, fear, worry, anxiety, give rise to that. Also, it gives rise to jealousy. It gives rise to other negative emotions such as miserliness, even anger. And so many, it gives rise to many other negative emotion as well. So again, I wanted to kind of touch on that because we have to, even though we might be using the same word, but it might have different meaning. The way you use, the way sometimes people use, and the way we use in our Buddhist term when we talk about attachment as being one of the root afflictive emotions as a negative. We are talking about this kind of specific mental factors of mind. Okay. Because we are talking about renunciation, giving up attachments. So we are not talking about giving up affections, true affection, love, So we have to differentiate those two things. And giving up attachments means giving up attachment to the attachment of this life, attachment to the experience of this life, attachment to the pleasure of this life, as well as giving up attachment to the experience of future life and happiness of future life, experience of future life, pleasure of future life, and generally, giving attachment to any of the samsaric experience. Any of the samsaric experience. Again, samsara, what's samsara? Samsara means, any kind of the aggregate that is produced by the contaminated karma and the delusions. And that is, So as long as your experience, whatever experience, unpleasant, neutral, or pleasant experience, we could have different experience, sometimes very unpleasant experience, painful experiences, which probably we are not attached to that, unpleasant, painful experiences. Even though sometimes when people are sick, maybe they could even have sometimes attached to that. But normally, this is something you don't want, something you try to avoid, something you dislike. Sometimes you are not attached to that. You are not craving for that kind of experience, painful, unpleasant experiences. That's one experience we experience. The other experience is more neutral experience. Sometimes we don't have very bad feeling, unpleasant, painful feeling, nor we have a good, pleasant feeling as well. More neutral experiences. And sometimes we have pleasant feelings, joyful feelings, happy feelings, which we get very attached to that. Something that we want to experience that again and again. Something we want to produce that experience again and again. Something that we want to maintain that, produce and improve and increase that kind of experience. So there are kind of three kind of experiences that we experience in our life. As long as those experiences, whether it's unpleasant, neutral, pleasant, as long as they are produced by contaminated karma and afflicted emotions, they are not true happiness. They are not true happiness. They are result of contaminated actions and delusions. And because they are result of contaminated actions and delusions, therefore such even pleasant or neutral and unpleasant, all those experiences does not last. They do not last. They all are transitory, transient, momentary. Not only they do not last, and they are momentary, transitory, transient, but a lot of time, even the pleasant experiences, they transform and change into something unpleasant experiences. At the very beginning, you might feel something pleasant, but after some time it becomes unpleasant. Do you have any experience of that? I do a lot every day. Yeah. So, outside is hot, you come home, you turn on the air conditions, and you feel cool breeze, pleasant. And after some time, it starts to become unpleasant. Then you started to put your robe on because it's getting too cold, too unpleasant. So the sense of feeling nice, good, pleasant at the very beginning, after some time, it transforms into something unpleasant. Same thing. Sometimes we feel very cold and in the winter, and you see the sun outside, warm, and you like to go to sun. And for some period, it's when you first get the sun, it's very warm, very nice feeling. Then after some time, it becomes, again, it transforms into unpleasant, too hot. Then you need to find a shade or go somewhere very shade. And when we think of the pleasure and happiness we experience in our life, most of our experience of like that. Relationship, isn't it? At the very beginning, excitement. After some time, then you have conflict, fight, and it isn't as exciting as it was at the very beginning, And that is same with everything that we experience. When you're first house, you are excited, not finally at house, but then after that, the maintaining, taking care of it, and again, it becomes complicated, not easy. The excitement, the joy that you had at the very beginning is no more there. So that is what it shows is because those experiences do not come through, uncontaminated actions and spiritual realization, but they are result of contaminated actions and affecting emotions. Therefore, they are not true happiness, not true lasting true happiness. They change into pain and suffering, and they do not last. So that is samsaric experience. Those are samsaric experience. And so therefore, not being attached to any of those samsara experience, even the pleasant ones, because it will not be able to give you true satisfactions, true joy, true lasting happiness, joy. So therefore, giving up attachment, in short, is giving up attachment to what we call worldly concerns. Giving up attachment to worldly concerns. And that means, giving up attachment to material gains or the gain of the wealth, material gain, and the attachment to the stage, that is free from losing those material gains, so you are attached to the state that is free from losing the material gain or the wealth, gain of the wealth. Then attachment to, as I mentioned, the pleasure, the happiness. And then attachment to state that's free from suffering. That's free from suffering. And then attachment to the praise. People praising you, saying nice about you, always nice and good things about you. And then being attachment to, the state that's free from criticisms. And then being attached to reputation, fame, good reputation and fame. And then attachment to being free from the state that is free from, bad reputations, notoriety or insignificance. Basically, because we're attached to, material gain, so we have aversion. We have aversion to losing those, losing the material or the wealth. Do you get it? Because you are attached to the gaining of material things or the wealth. So you have aversion to losing them. Because of that attachment, so you have aversion to the opposite of that. Because we are very attached to the pleasure and happiness, we have strong aversion to the opposite of that, the pain and suffering. And because we have strong aversion to such as pain and suffering and losing the wealth or the material things, when we encounter them, we experience so much pain and suffering. Because that's something you do not want. Because you have so much aversion towards that. Because you have so much dislike towards that. Because you have so much aversion to that. Why do we have strong aversions? Why do we have strong dislike? Because we're attached to the opposite of that. The more stronger attachment you have to the material gain and the material gain, the more stronger aversions, more stronger dislike of losing that. The more stronger dislike, the more stronger aversion you have, the more painful it is when you have to encounter that. When you have to face that. Are we clear? Yeah, and same thing, because, so same thing with the, because we have, the stronger you have attachment to pleasant experience, happiness, the stronger aversion, dislike, the opposite of that, discomfort, pain, sufferings. The more stronger you dislike, the more stronger you have aversion to such, discomfort, pain and suffering, the more painful it is when you encounter them. The more painful it is when you have to face them. More difficult and challenging it is when you have to face them. Same thing, when you have strong attachment to praise, people saying nice thing about you, good thing about you, pleasant things about you, things that you want to hear when they say things that you want to hear. The stronger attachment you have that, the stronger aversion you have towards dislike and aversion towards opposite of that. That's criticism. When someone says something you don't want to hear, when someone says something you don't like, you don't want to hear, even when it is maybe true what they are saying, even is a constructive criticism, true, and that can help you to improve. But because you have aversion and dislike to hear that, then you really dislike a strong aversion. And when you have strong aversion, that when you hear that, it is very hurtful, painful. Why is it so hurtful? Why is it so painful to hear that? Because we have strong aversions, because we have strong dislike, because there's something we don't really want to hear. Why? Because we are so attached to what we want to hear, the praise, nice things, good things. Even what they are saying not true, still you want to hear that. They are not what they say. That really, that it doesn't really mean it. They are just trying to be nice, or they are just trying to be encouraging whatever. But still, you like to hear that, because we're attached to it. Even when we know what they are saying, they don't really mean it, but still, you like to hear that. Because you're so attached to that. On other side, criticism, even sometimes you know what they're saying is true, but still you don't want to hear that. And then, because we're so attached to fame, being someone special, significance, something special, fame, good reputation, well known, of that, then we have very strong aversion to opposite of that, losing that fame, reputation, being insignificant, being no one, being unknown, and because the more stronger dislike we have for that state, the more stronger aversion we have that, and when we do become insignificant, or when we feel like we are becoming insignificant, when we feel like we are not being important or not considered as important, that then it hurts you. You experience hurt, pain, suffering, more pain, more suffering, more hurtful. That is what eight worldly concerns are. Due to that eight worldly concerns, we experience so much pain and suffering. So much pain and suffering. Our whole life is around that. So when you give up attachment to eight worldly concerns, when there is no attachment to such as material gain, happiness or pleasure and praise and pain and reputations. If you don't have attachment, you don't have aversions and dislike to the opposite of that. And if you don't have strong aversion, dislike to that, when you encounter them, you don't get so much hurt. You don't feel so much pain and suffering. You don't mind that. You can deal with that with much more ease. Then you experience less pain and suffering in your life. Then your life is more kind of, you find more peace and joy, more stable. At the moment, it's up and down, up and down. One moment you feel so excited, the next moment you feel like you are falling down, so down. We don't have that stability, calm, peace, stability, always up and down, up and down. Affected by the external changes. And that comes because of the attachments. If we can give up attachment, it can bring so much peace and calm in your life. Also, if we analyze so much of time in our life, we are stressed out by a lot of fears, worries, so much time, fear, worries about so many things, fear, worry about our health, fear and worry of relationship, fear and worry of our financial securities or situations, fear and worries about whether people will like you or not like you, all this so much. And because all this fear and worry, we stress out ourselves so much. With such a stress, with so much fear, worry, anxiety, and so forth, we stress, and it affects our emotional well-being, and it also affects our physical well-being. Less attachments, less fearful, less worry. Check it out. Less attachments, less fear, less worry. And less worry, less fear, less craving, less miserliness, less jealousy, all of that. So it reduces a lot of those negative emotions and a lot of those fears and worries, and And with that, you find more peace in your heart, more calm, more peace. And with that more peace, you have better it helps your emotional well-being, and it also helps your physical well-being. And when you have no more attachment to the samsaric experience, even the samsaric pleasure experiences, then, of any samsara, then you develop, renunciation. When there's no more attachment. No more attachment to any kind of samsaric experience, samsaric pleasure, no matter how high that is. Within the samsaric pleasure, there are many different levels. Even within the human realms, there can be a different level of samsaric happiness, samsaric pleasure. And then we compare with other beings, unseen beings, then also there are higher level of samsaric pleasure and happiness. Regardless of how high it is, as long as samsaric pleasure, samsaric happiness, there's no true happiness in that. All of them are in the nature of transforming into suffering. They all are in the nature of some suffering. They all are in the nature of impermanent, not lasting stories. Through such understanding, realization, then not being attached to any of those experiences, samsaric experience, even the highest level of samsaric experience. And then when there's no more that, then that's what renunciation is. That is what renunciation is. So we need to develop renunciations in order to free from the samsara and to have sense of inspiration to true liberations. At the moment, even though we say, I inspire liberations, fully enlightenment, it's not really truly coming from our heart. We are still chasing after samsaric pleasure. We recite the words, I seek liberations. I seek to free from the samsara. I seek liberation, but in our everyday essence, every day, we are still, all the effort we are making is chasing the happiness of samsara, because we are still attached to them. Still somehow we believe maybe that will give me some joy, happiness. Still we haven't really understood, this is samsaric pleasure does not really give us true happiness on experience level. And so until we have a, if we don't have true renunciation, then, we wouldn't have the true inspiration to achieve liberation. If we don't have true inspiration to achieve liberation or fully enlightenment, then we will not put so much effort. We will not starve so much to achieve that. And if you don't put so much effort and starve to do that, we will not be able to achieve that. Because we don't put so much effort towards that. And we don't put so much effort toward that, because we don't have strong inspiration for that. Because we don't have strong inspiration to that, because we don't have true renunciation. We don't have true renunciation because we haven't been able to give up attachment or samsara in some sort of way. That is why one needs to, from spiritual point of view, from the from the point of view of someone, a spiritual practitioner, Dharma practitioner who want to achieve liberation, fully enlightenment, they need the renunciations. Without that renunciations, then the wish, the inspiration for the liberation is very weak. It's very not strong, weak. And with that not being strong and it being weak, then your practice become weak. But even we don't talk about from liberation, enlightenment, fully, but even if we talk about just happiness in this life, if you have that renunciation, meaning you have less attachment to all this that we worldly concern and all of that, your life will be much more happier. Your life will be much more happier. You will have much more calm, peace in your life. If you have happiness, you can be happy. Even you don't have happiness, sometimes you don't feel so great, still you can deal with it. You can say, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's fine, it's okay. You gain a wealth, great. You lose it, not a big deal. Comes and goes. You can handle it. You say, I have a friend, he used to be monk, but he's not monk anymore. And he used to say, wealth and money is like a dirt, comes and goes, And that kind of attitude, just taking it's just like it comes and goes, it comes. You don't be so serious and so so sad and so unhappy. Take it easy. It comes great. It goes away just fine. People praise you, wonderful. They don't praise you, they criticize it, that's fine. To be able to accept anything that happens. People like you is wonderful. People doesn't like you, that's also okay. To be able to accept, that is just fine. Not a big deal. Sometimes you have good reputation, fame comes. People treat you like special, very important, significant, and then comes people doesn't treat you. They treat you like no one. That you don't exist. Insignificant, who you are. And you are able to just deal with that, accept with that, without feeling so negative, pain, suffering, hurtful, painful. If we can do that, wouldn't our life be so calm, peaceful, stable? If you have not attachment, then you can deal with that. You can do that. It's the attachment that makes us unable to accept and painful when we encounter that. Like I use an example. You had a garbage, okay, and you want to do, you put by your door so that you want to take into the dustbin. And then you came and someone has taken it away, you wouldn't be so upset and angry, would you? But you have something valuable you are attached to, that you can let it go, and you left by door and you went somewhere and someone taking it up, upset you would be. It's the same. Someone has taken without your permission, someone has taken whatever. But in one case, you got very upset and angry, disturbed. In other cases, you just kind of, oh, someone has taken it away. Maybe he or she had thrown in somewhere. or maybe he or she might have been useful, whatever. You don't get so disturbed, upset, and angry. Why? Because you are not so attached to that. That is how it make difference. Whether when that object is taken away, or the object is no more there, or whether it's destroyed or by itself, or someone destroyed it, someone took it, or it got lost, or whatever that, whether it affect you, whether it disturb your mind, upset you or not, is whether you are attached to that object or not. The more stronger attachment, the more disturbed it is, the more painful it is, more less attachment you are object to that, the less your mind is disturbed, less your mind is agitated. Is that true? So therefore, that is clear. It's clear whether you are seeking a liberation, enlightenment or not, but even just to be happy in this life, we need to give up attachment, less attachment, less pain, less suffering. So that means cultivating renunciation's mind, giving up attachment. So I think I will stop here. I will open for some questions. If anyone has any questions, any comments, questions, most welcome. Sometimes you also in the Zoom, if they have any questions, they can unmute and ask. Who is going to be the, what do you call, the brave one? Yes, please.
So sometimes my mind changes letters and words, and the word attachment has an H in it. And sometimes in my mind, it turns to a K, so it becomes attackment. But really, that's exactly what you're talking about. My attachment, if it's really strong, it's an attackment, because it's almost just waiting for me. If I'm too, I need the little, whatever it is, the little bird that flew to me to stay, but it's like the nature to want to keep being bird. I was smiling when you were saying attachment, because I was like, attachment. But you started out the whole talk, I think this is important, the whole black and white thing. Predisposition I have, love is not that.
Yeah,
Love
true love is not attachment. So true love is something that we need to cultivate, something positive, and we'll talk about that when it comes to the awakened mind of Bodhisattva. But attachments is something else.
So the attachment has the fear in it, doesn't it? Because you're wanting something from it.
Yeah, attachment has, it is something to do with yourself. There is some kind of expectations, condition. As I mentioned, also it has this. It comes from ignorance, and also it kind of exaggerates more positive quality into the object when you use, and the effect of attachment is always pain and suffering. And as we mentioned, also it gives rise to fear and all other different, many different negative emotions, feelings. Anyone?
I'm thinking. I'll probably ask you later.
You have a chance
I'm
only now.
agitating.
After we close out of class, then I'm out of it.
Clocked out.
Then you have to make a special appointment for that. Yeah, then if we don't have question, then. we-
Attachment to praise is just hard, and Blaine is just the hardest one for me, and I don't know why, because it's like you said, I know that neither is true. Like the praise isn't totally true and the blame's not true, but I don't know, that's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in many of the teaching, there says attachment to reputation and fame is much more difficult than giving up, more difficult than giving up attachment with the physical or material things. And with it, then even some of the, meditators who can easily kind of give attachment to material things and they leave everything behind. And even they might be practicing medicine still, sometimes they can have this attachment to people, thinking or people saying that they are meditator, they are good meditator, they are good practitioners, like that. So even they could have that, even though they might not be attached to the material things and they're, they don't miss that and they can easily give up that. But when it comes to the praise and interpretation, sometimes it might be even more difficult. So, yeah.
Well, you'll probably have a whole day about like, as you're talking about renunciation, I'm like, how? And maybe that's a whole day that you'll do, tomorrow or something, one of the talks.
Oh, yeah.
But
So, yeah.
he just says how.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit tomorrow. So today we talk about, why we need to have renunciation, what is the renunciation, and how to develop the renunciations. And that will come, also when we talk about the right view, we can talk about that too. But also, meditating on impermanent nature in general, the object of our attachment, whatever they are, external, internal, they all are impermanent in the nature of impermanent, something that will not last, even if it seems beneficial, attractive, pleasant, beautiful, whatever that object, whatever qualities that we're attached to, whatever that, those qualities are not going to remain same way. They're changed. If I'm attached to a flower, it's going to change after some days. Of course, it is already changing minute by minute. Even though our naked eye cannot see it, the change has already happened. And so something that cannot remain that and it's going to change, whatever quality that we're attached to, it doesn't make sense to get attached and cling and grasp on that object, that qualities, because even you try to, it's not realistic, it's not possible. And so something that is going to, but if you already see the changes, you might not be so attached to that. When you don't see that changes, then you are more attached to that. If we see the food that we're eating, the process in our feed already that happening, we might not be so attached to it.
I think I kind of have that experience with food recently because I changed my diet. And I just always had such attachment to my unhealthy foods that but then I was like forced to stop eating them. And then I realized that when I go back to eating them, they don't taste as good as they used to taste. I just noticed it, like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna have this really good, meal and it doesn't taste as good as I remember it tasting when I was so attached to it.
Mhm,
So-
mhm.
But now I'm getting attached to the healthy food.
It's better,
But it's
better
better.
attachment, relatively, you know. It's being attached to healthy food than being attached to junk food is better. Still attachment still is something I've always said, being attached to violence and being attached to peace is better to be attached to the peace. Even that we have to give up, but relatively, especially at the very beginning, sometimes it might help for some individuals. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more, meditating in permanent nature, meditating on the meditating and contemplating on the suffering nature of samsara and meditating on impermanent in general, and especially death impermanent. Those can be powerful method to give up attachment. And then also meditating on emptiness that we talk for our life viewing. That will go together more powerful antidote to overcome that attachment. And thereby cultivating the pure enough. So do the dedication prayer.
Someone can kind of share.
And the first two dedication, I'm going to chant in Tibetan, but if you can join me or you can do in English, whatever you find helpful, beneficial, okay? So either you can chant with me in Tibetan or you can just recite the English there. Yewa di nyo la sangye du yo ne yo ji ja ma pa e sa
Senjo Rinpoche, Make Mamang Ye Kyoshi, Ke Mayam Pame Payam, Gong Ne Gong Du Pelwa Shu.
So then we can do His Holiness Dalai Lama long life, as well as we can keep all the, teachers and enlightened beings long life. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful, generated. Please remain until samsara ends. Then we do the prayer for Suprachana Lama Subramanian. Fearless
Teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravaka's and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the most precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request.
while
striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings who suddenly depart into peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of our reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for a fortunate disciple.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Ed.
Thank you for the teaching.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.